All right, welcome to the On My Block Packers podcast. I'm your host, Mike Wall, along with my co-host, Packers all-time leading rusher, Ahman Green. How you doing, Ahman?
I'm doing good, Mike. How you doing?
I'm great. Let's just get this delicious betonline.ag, our sponsor. Let's get their talk out of the read out of the way. Basketball is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at, see, it's so good, I keep the music going, game trends at BetOnline. And as your continued source for all sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and giveaway all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events, whether that's NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, esports, or even golf. Actually, hey, well, hold on a second. Head to betonline.ag and join to receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use your promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. I got two things. One, Ahman, congratulations. You got the old hit the gold medal on a game that it's a shooter game. What was it called?
It's called Valorant.
Valorant.
Yep.
And how many people are on that? How many people are on the Valorant team? 3 or 4?
5. There's 5.
Are you? Now, here's a question I think everybody, at least I am curious to.
Okay.
How good are you at these games?
I'm like at Valorant. I'm rated as, they do by medals. So
okay.
I'm a bronze right now.
So that's good. What would I be?
Well, just starting out, you'll be like what is it? I think you're unranked at the time when you first start.
Okay, so you have to aspire to get a medal.
Yeah. A medal
so
rating.
There's not a purple medal. It's not like belts. Like I wouldn't.
No, it goes from bronze. Like it starts at like iron, and silver or iron, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, radiant, and ascendant is the toppest one.
So do you have any guys that are ascendant?
Yeah. I got one. My captain, he's ascendant 2. So you have. At every rank, so if you're gold, you'll be gold 1, gold 2, gold 3, gold 4, gold 5, and once you get gold 6, then you go to platinum 1, platinum 2, platinum 3, platinum 4, 5, and then on to the next.
And you have to beat people in order to ascend?
I say you have to get points. So you get points by obviously your KDA, your kill death ratio.
I was going KDA. Okay.
Yeah, you're basically like under interception touchdowns. So your kill. How many people you killed to how many people killed you. If that rating's above a 1, you're doing work. You're a good player. And so we have players that are like 2 and 3, which is phenomenal. So you want that. And then obviously you want people that use their utilities because you have grenades, you have smokes, you have all that you could use because you're doing search and destroy. So you're searching, you want to get into a base. You want to either plant the bomb or defuse the bomb. So you got to make sure you're tactical in terms of your rotations. It's all military based. You you might understand some of the lingo there, and making sure you either get into the area, which is A point or B point, and then plant the bomb and then defend it to make sure nobody comes in and kills all your teammates and then defuses the bomb. So that's the purpose.
So what I'm basically hearing is, as a coach, you have to understand the game, but you really need to understand the mechanics of team building, detail, like how to create some habits and routines, how to get them kind of mentally right to the game. I got you.
Exactly. Right. So that's the part in like last year, like when the game came out in year 1 of my job, so 2020 during COVID, that's when the game first came out. So I was just learning the game, so I didn't know it. So I was doing what you just said, the team building, the communication, the working on your mechanics, working on your aim and your accuracy, and then working on your utilities, learning how to use them and when to use them. Because you have some of the characters in the game that, like one character, for example, his name is KO, and he drops the EMP down. So you got to know when to drop that EMP because you want to disable people's weapons at the right time to win the match, to make sure when you go into a base or when you're trying to attack the base, nobody can shoot you because all their weapons.
In the Matrix. You got to know when to drop that EMP.
Exactly. Like exactly. Like in the Matrix.
In a perfect segue, thank you, because the perfect segue to that is the Packers have a bye week this week, and they could use a little work on techniques, routines, fundamentals, creating habits, etc.
Creating good habits.
Creating good habits. Yeah, that's actually fair point. So they're 5-8 right now, and technically, listen, if they went out, they're 9-8, and you kind of go, 9-8 is probably going to get you in the playoffs. Given that in order to go 9-8, they'd have to beat the Vikings and the Lions because they got the Rams, the Dolphins, the Vikings, and the Lions. So you're looking at that. Of course, we can go 4-0. Of course, we could go 1-3 very easily.
Very easily, the way the season's gone.
Yeah, this is the interesting part, because this is, to me, this bye week. Now, remember, the Packers had the option, because they did go to London this year. They had the option of having their bye week right after London. They probably thought that was too early. Now, when I look at this at week 14, I go,
they should have did it.
Yeah, this is way too late, right? It's like, and you can see the lull in productivity, like during that 8-game losing streak, or 7 out of 8 or whatever it was. Yep. You see, like right then, like probably needed it right then, didn't we? Like
100%. I would have took it. I didn't know that, so I would have took it then. And then talking about the playoff race, you have the NFC South that is a shambles. So that 9-8 is plausible to be in the playoffs at that time.
It's shambles, but also, okay, it is. You're right, but also the Bucks, the Panthers, like they could all end up 9-8.
Yeah, they're all.
Somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to win. To your point, but like I think the Panthers could be 9-8 if they went out too. I mean, it's like this is a crazy. There's 17 games and everything, but I think the most important thing to think about from like our perspective is it's playoff football now, and I suppose it has been. So we can make it more than it is. Mm-hmm. But you really look at it like if you lose one more game, mathematically, however you want to look, there's no chance of going to the playoffs, right?
Right.
And you might not even deserve it now, but you can always say if I have a winning record, you can at least make this like we feel good about building on this. We are good enough. We can go to the playoffs, even if we don't go to the playoffs. We're 9-8. Like that feels 9-8 feels so much different than 8-9. Feels so much different than 7-10. Right?
Oh, yes.
And so that's what you're trying to avoid, because I guess for me, when I think about 7-10, 6-11, which are possible right now given the upcoming schedule, the way we played.
Yeah.
It's not like we beat the brakes off the Bears, bro. Like that was, I was just on the line with Andy Herman. He said it best. That was a bad team beating a worse team.
Right.
It wasn't
perfect. That's like perfect for the.
It wasn't juggernaut versus juggernaut here. So we could go 1-3. We could go 4-2. We could go 1-3. But if you are, I guess, let's look at these scenarios, AJ. Let me get your opinion. We go 6-11 or 7-10. What's your immediate thought right after the season? You're Mark Murphy. What are you doing?
Oh man, I'm reevaluating, talking to Gutekunst. It's having a conversation. And, in that conversation built around, what is, where are you at in your process of how you want to build out this team and correct the mistakes. And, maybe, there's something where there might be a job change, so you got to ask that question. I say for the coaching staff, this is their first bad year, but it's bad. It's not just, okay, you're one game below, you're, in the heat, in the race, we're nowhere in the race in the playoffs, right?
It's one bad year, but you and I talked about this ad nauseum last year, right?
Yeah.
They displayed signs last year, whether it was the special teams, whether it was the fault in the defense last year, the inability to tackle. They display issues that for over a year have not been corrected. And the same things that we talked about week 1 versus the Vikings, we could talk about week 13 versus the Bears.
Yes,
and that is really – when you start looking, if there's anything where you go, this is an indictment on the development of these players, you look at that and go, we talked about it last year. Like this, or do we have a culture problem? Now, AG, like I think LaFleur and Goody both answer separately to Mark Murphy, right? In other words, the chain of command is not linear, right? It's 2 guys answering to 1.
Right.
So what I'm interested in, amongst other things, is if let's say you're 6-11, 7-10, is do you think if we went through this roster and you looked at positions, how many positions or how many performances are a result of poor personnel versus poor development, or like in the case of maybe a Rasul Douglas, Devondre Campbell, guys are reverting back to what they were after they got a fat paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, they had a 1-year contract. They got paid. Now, all of a sudden, they're not playing as well versus guys aren't – or versus the offensive line where they change coaches and they're not playing as well.
Right.
So where do you see all that falling?
I see maybe some of it definitely player development, where you look like a Quay Walker. You look at a Quay Walker, has the talent, has some tools, but from starting this year off is still a lot to learn, and it's week 14. And it's like, if I have a guy like that and I'm the linebackers coach, I'm gonna have him doing the bare necessities of the position as a rookie. And I would have said to him in training camp, all right, look, we know we drafted you high, but let's do this year one. This is all I want from you. This is, as a coach, personnel, as the linebacker coach, I want to see this. I want to see good tackling, and I want to see good play recognition. So when that ball snap, I know, and I look at you and I know that you know where the ball's going, because you are reading it with your eyes. You're reading the triangle. It was a triangle that I remember being taught by a slide and something that then I learned, by watching what linebackers read when right before the ball snap, they look at the triangle. It's a triangle between the center, I'll say the center guard tackle area, and then the fullback. And so that's also the quarterback is in that triangle because he's under the center. So if quarterback's under center in that triangle, that's where a linebacker's eyes want to go, because you'll know right away within 2 steps if it's a play action pass or if it's actually handoff to the ball. So when you have that play recognition, you can react the way you need to. And in some of the plays that we went over, we saw Quay totally not reacting the way he should have and been in the position, even though he has a ton of tackles. He has 100 tackles on the year, but that's because of his ability, not because of experience and what he should have been developed by this year or by this time of his rookie year.
Yeah, that's a good point. And some of that's probably, so the other question with him specifically would probably be, do you think that, we've talked about this at nauseum, right? Like, should Quay be playing right now, or should you put in a veteran guy who knows the defense a little bit better? Because a lot of the reason that he's in the game when maybe we think he should be is because Devondre Campbell was hurt that whole time.
Correct.
But to your point, I guess experience helps regardless, if you can put it in context.
Yep.
So there's that part of it, and you're kind of suffering through this year anyways. But we looked at, like, especially like the Eagles game, you go, well, does that look any different if Chris Barnes or Isaiah McDuffie's in there in those situations? Like, do we give up that extra 150 yards or whatever of offense? Like, it's hard to say. I would venture to say no. So there are those issues, but like, let's just go with it's not fair to me to say that. I mean, listen, Rasul Douglas and Devondre Campbell came in and played really well last year.
Yeah, last year.
And they haven't played as well this year. And I still think they're good players, but like, we know that getting big contracts sometimes changes people. And I don't know those guys. I don't know those guys at all. All I know is they were on 1-year hungry deals, and now they're not on 1-year deals anymore, and their performance changed. So we can start drawing conclusion based on anecdotal evidence of what we know to be true.
100%.
The offensive line, on the other hand, you go, well, I think Adam Stenavich overproduced with a group last year that was played with injuries. Mm-hmm. And now we still have a group that was played with injuries, but there was decisions made, whether it was put Elton Jenkins at right tackle, whether it was, start Royce Newman. You start going around and going, there's hindsight's easy, but we called this out early in the season, but some of this stuff probably could have been, like, these guys could be playing maybe at a little bit higher level than they have been up until very recently if we made some better decisions at the forefront. Now, I know that's not like a Luke Butkus deal. That's Luke Butkus, Steno, and LaFleur, and all those guys are making those decisions.
Right.
But we've also talked about this year specifically, and I've asked on people on the shows that people are at practice every day, like, how much time is Adam Stenavich playing with the offensive line right now, or is it all the new line coach? And because I don't see technically from a technical standpoint, like, I don't know that they're as productive as they were last year, right? They've lost technically on some areas. So those questions have to be, those are the tough questions, right? So when you go, if you're Mark Murphy, put your Mark Murphy hat on, it'll be curious to see, he has to meet with Matt LaFleur, and it's like, you got these issues, and you have to meet with Mark Murphy. I mean, I have my opinions. If you went and met with if you're Mark Murphy and you meet with Goody, and you're like, we'll talk about Jordan Love in a minute and all that, and the Dave Bakhtiari discussion.
Correct.
But you're like, hey, we got to get better in these positions. Like, we have to, or we're not going to win a championship. What are those positions in your mind?
Those positions, I was thinking when I saw the question, I'm looking at, I would say offensive line, And
what position specifically, though?
I say specifically, I say tackles in the tackle area for sure, and then defensive backfield in safeties and corners.
Yeah.
In that position, because that's where we saw a lot of miscommunication week one against the Vikings. And you have talent there, but that talent wasn't communicating with each other. Those players were missing things that we saw glaringly,
Okay, so AG? So that's I would say safeties, not corners, because we have 2 first-round picks there. Jair Sanders paid a ton of money. But so the question is, if you're Mark Murphy, is that a LaFleur discussion or is that a Goody discussion? Do you have a personnel problem in the secondary, or do you have a coaching problem in the secondary?
That's a coaching problem.
That's a coaching.
That's a coaching problem, 100%.
Now the tackle thing.
I say tackle thing is a Goody thing because it's getting talent in the room that can then because we know we rotate. Obviously, it's been plagued with injuries in terms of the line, so it's not the talent can't do what talent does. Is talent is injured a lot in the offensive line right now.
Best ability is availability.
Yes, exactly.
I would say this. For me, it's definitely safety position. It's the backup outside linebacker position, and that probably is honestly number one because when Sean Gary's hurt, like Bari. They both had rough games last weekend. He's gonna be better.
Edgar Barry's got a high ceiling. I could see where he can go.
I would agree with that, but with what you're putting on the field right now, problematic. Honestly, like nobody's scaring me. There's no pressure and there's no run support.
No.
And then maybe the glaring one for me, and this is you have to feel good about Tunyon as far as like where he is with his comeback and he's becoming one of my liked players because I think he's really working in pass protection and run blocking. But you have to look at the tight end position as it pertains to this offense, what you see in like San Francisco with George Kittle, or you see in like the offense that you aspire to be.
Yeah.
You look at a Mark Andrews, you look at all these different guys and you go, man, if we had that would be a game changer for Aaron.
Yeah.
Right? That'd be a game changer for your young wide receivers. It'd be a game changer for your running game. So I look at those 3 positions. The tackle thing, I get but I get it. So let's dive into it, right?
Yeah.
Bakhtiari's up, or they have to make a decision on Bakhtiari. Correct. Now, I'll say this: he is a top 3 tackle in the National Football League when he plays healthy. So for me, it's Trent Williams, it's Laramie Tunsil, and it's him. I don't think there's 3 better guys in the league when he's healthy. But the problem is, like, he had the appendectomy, but he also had some, which is not a big deal. But he also had some knee issues this year, and you just don't know week to week, year to year.
Yeah.
He's set to make, if you take away non-guaranteed money, he's set to make 39 over 2, so it's about 20 a year.
Okay.
20 a year, AG is for a guy that's a top 3 tackle in the league is a bargain.
Yes.
So based on, tell me how you think about that. You're Mark Murphy now. How you think about Bakhtiari this offseason?
It's potential case where there could be some restructuring because of the health concerns that's been going on. So looking at it as a GM, because we know the time that he's put in, and it's just, like I said, it's just unfortunate. It's been more about injuries than anything. So, but that is something that GMs look at. They look at that part of the game of a player that's making the type of money that David is, and will consider that. Can we restructure and make some room, because this was the talent level when this is the level that he was playing at, and the time he put in, and then if the math problem, it didn't equal out to us in terms of having our value for what we paid for that year. It sounds cold, but that's the business of it, where GMs and own, well, I'll say GMs to CEOs, which is the president instead of the CEO of the team, but president of the team has those type of conversations.
So I don't think you can find a better player than nobody else is coming here that's as good as he is.
No, I know that. Definitely agree with that. I mean, it'd be hard bent to ask, or even I say you probably do better looking in the draft, but free agency, nah. It would be rough. It would be tough to try to get somebody here, and money wise, and obviously potential location wise too.
What about so then you talk about what his value is off the field, locker room, Aaron Rodgers, like all those decisions. If you're bringing back Aaron, you bring back Bakhtiari. Does Aaron want to come back if his blind side's not protected? Zach Tomlin's great. He could be a tackle in this league. Is he going to be Bakhtiari tackle in this league? Probably not. So I mean, it's like when you turn the page on a guy who's a Hall of Fame caliber player, which Bakhtiari is a Hall of Fame caliber player, when you turn your back on or you turn the page from that guy, it's not like the next guy is not going to be anywhere near the production value.
No, I knew when I did. Sorry to cut you off. I knew when I did my internship, his rookie year. So his rookie year was the same year as they drafted Eddie Lacy. And I'm watching him in practice during training camp, that whole month of practice. I was like, this is a good kid from Colorado. I'm like, this kid is nice. I kept saying that to everybody, like from when we did 907 to Pass Pro to I watched everything. You know me, I'm going around watching, I'm coaching. So I'm looking at every position. I'm seeing how, okay, this guy now is a backup because it's preseason. I said regular season, he's starting. I say regular season because the way he, like physicality, let's just look at physics. His body build, tall, limber, can bend and can extend and just can do things that usually offensive linemen can't do, but the better ones do it and he doesn't. He makes it look very easy. And that's what I saw during that training camp, just as standing in the back in 907, in Pass Pro, in move the ball period, whatever. When he got in, you saw differences. And by the end of training camp, he was rolling with the number one team. So
okay, so Elgin Jenkins is up. I think he might be an unrestricted free agent. I think okay, so there's a lot of things they can do with him.
Yeah.
Given his value, given his production, given his injury, given everything, given his ceiling, you have to make a decision on Bakhtiari for 2 years or Jenkins and everything that comes with that contract. Because let's be honest, if he goes free agent, you can back the truck up to the bank because he's going to get paid. Someone's going to pay. He is not as good as Brandon Sheriff, who went to the Jaguars from the Commanders. Okay. He's not as good as he is. He is extremely good. Injury, setbacks, all this kind of stuff. He's an extremely high-level player. He's got a high ceiling. He'll be better next year than he was this year. But he's that type of player where you look at him and go, he's a plug-and-play guy in any offense. He can play in any offense, and he can play there for the next 7 years. Probably a good locker room guy, all that stuff. But I'm asking you, if you have to make the decision for the next 2 years, you're trying to win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. What do you do? Which one do you keep? You only keep one.
Yeah, I say, well, the key name you just dropped there right at the end, Aaron Rodgers. But I'm looking at David Buck. I'm looking at him, bringing him, keeping him in for that because their relationship, they're close. You could tell. You've seen the off seasons, you've seen the regular season when they've been playing and not, when David's not playing as well, still supportive of one another. And I could tell in the locker room, and David was the same in his rookie year. Didn't say a whole lot rookie year, but I could tell he's a locker room leader as well. He will voice his opinion to players, and definitely he could talk to Aaron. He's on that level.
I completely agree with you. You can't, as good as Jenkins is, he's not a Hall of Fame caliber left tackle. For me, it stops right there. The conversation has to be over. Bakhtiari's that good. Interesting point here. One of our comments is we overlooked 5 technique tackle because they don't think. I disagree with this guy. He said Lowry very, very rarely wins one-on-one. I think Lowry is. I thought he was better last year. There's no question about that. But again, I go back to why are they not as good this year? Like, what are they doing? We've seen guys get beat on double teams. We've seen them attack double teams.
So now we're talking about defensive line. We're talking about defensive line.
We've seen Jared Wynn Blues. We've seen Kenny Clark be an All-Pro. We've seen Kenny Clark be a guy. Like,
be human.
With Mark Murphy. Is that a personnel problem? Devontae Wyatt is a Goody problem, right?
Yes.
That's a Goody problem. Yep. If he doesn't turn out, that's a Goody. But or a combination of, or is that the floor problem? Let's stay on the topic of quarterbacks and who we're going to keep back. Jordan Love. Goody said they've already made their decision on Jordan Love, assuming that means 5th-year option, the whole thing. Okay.
Got you.
Let me ask you this though. Now put on your player hat. You're Ahman Green. Okay. You know you're going to be good. Okay, you don't know how good you're going to be, but you know you're going to be good. You're going into your 4th or 5th year, and you still haven't played. And quarterbacks have long careers now, blah, 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 blah. But now you're sitting there, and you're going, wait a second, dude. Now I'm behind a 2-time MVP. This is going to his 4th year next year, right?
Yeah, yep.
So I'm going to go into my 4th year, and I have not really been on the field for a handful of games, handful of snaps.
No. Okay.
What do you tell your agent? Are you like, dude, I'm cool riding this out because I think I want to be part of Green Bay Packers? Or am I like, get me the hell out of here because I want my career to start.
Right. I would say that conversation, if it hasn't been started by Jordan to his agent probably started with him, because I remember being in that situation before I got traded to Green Bay in Seattle. My agent, like for me, I'm more worried about the field at that time, being 22 years old. I was worried about the field. So when my agent brought it up
to right?
Yeah, that was year 2 in Seattle.
Yep.
And so my agent bringing it to me, right? I say not too far before I got traded about, other teams out there. And so I was like, you know what? Let's talk in the offseason. I don't want to talk about it during the regular season. It's the 99 season. It's my second year. I want to focus on football. Once the offseason gets here, then let's hit that. And so he brought that up mid-season. I pretty much shot it down because I wanted to focus on that. I don't want to be thinking about where I may be at in 2000. But it's a conversation that it is not something to cringe at. It's reality, because it's a thing that where Jordan's at, like you say, 4th year. This is in college. This is his senior year, and he hasn't played. So if this was a college situation,
that's a good way to look at it too.
He's not getting drafted. He's going to go free agency because he's never been on the field. He's been behind.
His value is only like
exactly.
AG. I don't know the exact mechanics of this, but I have to imagine like his value ascends as a backup to Aaron Rodgers, 1st-round draft pick, playing for the Green Bay Packers. They're 13-3, like all that stuff. That actually helps his value. Yes, but at some point, that value starts like, well, wait a second, dude. Now you're in. Let's project this to year 5. You're going into year 5 and you haven't played. You're not a starting quarterback in the National Football League. You're 26, 27 years old.
Yeah.
I can go draft a guy who's got 5 extra years. Like at some point, that value starts going down. And we're not talking about money because he's going to be rich one way or the other.
Yeah,
we're just talking about like putting yourself in the best position to have the career that you dreamed about, right? And you worked hard for it.
Exactly. And you look at the history of quarterbacks that have been on the shelf behind, I say, average to Hall of Fame starters. First one pops in my head, Dante Culpepper. He sat on the shelf.
Yeah. I was thinking Steve Young, but yeah.
Steve Young, another one. He sat behind Joe Montana. Dante Culpepper sat behind Warren Moon and Randall Cunningham. He was my draft class. He was 98 draft class. Set for 4 years. He set for 4 years because it wasn't until 2000 where he got on the field with Randy Moss. No, that was Randall Cunningham in 90. That was 98. But no, during 2000, excuse me. That's when Dante Culpepper came to the party. He was already there, but then he started his starting. So it's actually his 3rd year, excuse me. So, situation like that, Pat Mahomes, he was behind Alex Smith. That time, but you got to eventually get on the field, like you said. You got to get on the field for that talent to be shown.
Yeah, I was just looking at Steve Young. So Steve Young actually was with the Bucs, didn't do well, got traded, then sat for 4 years behind Steve Young or Joe Montana. So
it was
he actually took a break. Yeah, he took a break in the mid. But then, like, shoot, man, we know Matt Hasselbeck, we know Kurt Warner. These are Green Bay Packers.
Aaron Brooks.
Yeah. These guys have all, but again, except for probably Kurt Warner. So let's look at Aaron Brooks and Matt Hasselbeck. Right. Perfect examples of guys that are playing under Brett Favre for a very, very good offensive football team. Mm-hmm. Mike Holmgren, then
Mike Sherman,
then Mike Sherman, and you'd look. So same system that a lot of people were using at the time, West Coast offense. Know the language, and every year they show up in training camp. They looked good in training camp every season. Mm-hmm. And you're like, dude, you're never going to play here, but don't worry, you're going to get picked up somewhere else. I'll never forget when I was walking through Festival Foods right next to the stadium, and Hasselbeck walks in. It's like January. He walks in a full Seahawks outfit because he literally got traded that morning, and like I don't know how he got all the gear. I'm like, oh hey, did you get traded? Like, Like, oh yeah, it's going to be the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks.
Anyway,
it's certainly. I think if I was Jordan Love right now, I'd be like, if you're not going to start me next year, get me the hell out of there. That's honestly what I think I'd do.
Right. Because he wants to play. I mean, I think every player wants to play. So yeah, I mean, it won't be nothing against him to feel that way because he's a competitor. You got to want to play. So, great question.
Okay, we got 4 games left. AG, let's put on our we've been the president so far. We've been the player. Let's put on our coaching hat.
Right.
If you're going in, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs or not. Let's not sit here and do that.
Yeah.
But what do they need to improve on the most? What is this team missing? And let's talk about it We could talk about it from kind of a holistic standpoint, or if you want to break it down to like offensive and defensively. It's up to you, bud.
Right. I know the way we have it going. I would say moving forward, like what's left? Like, are we GM again? You said GM or
let's say we're Coach LaFleur. We're
okay.
We're sitting in front of the team meeting room Monday morning after the bye, and like this. Hey, we got 4 weeks left. This is what we want to accomplish, and here is how when they say, and here's how we're going to do it. What is that?
Okay. We got coming out of this break. They got Dolphins. No, they got Rams.
Vikings, Lions.
Yeah. We're focusing on the Rams. It's one game, one game season. We've heard all that, and then let's work on these things offensively and defensively. Defensively, we know we got to work on tackling, work on communication, working on getting in the backfield, causing that quarterback pressure problems. If it's incomplete passes to getting him off his timing from his drop back, getting the ball out of the backfield, throw into his favorite receiver, and we could alleviate. We got an easier problem there because it's not Matt Stafford. We got a backup in there now because he's been out for a few weeks. So
it's Baker Mayfield, baby.
Oh, even better.
We got the Baker Mayfield show.
Even better.
Baker Mayfield with a bad offensive line.
Exactly. So
this couldn't be any juicier.
So with this game, not looking forward to the other 3 games. With this game, this is what we could do to win defensively and then offensively. Continue to run the ball, continue to develop what Christian and Aaron is developing into that connection there, and keeping Aaron Jones running the rock. Hopefully Aaron Jones not too beat up from the shin injury or the shin that got beat up in the Chicago game. And AJ Dillon is now coming. He's getting the carries in that situation because Aaron Jones was beat up. Seeing him get multiple carries and run the ball and take over a game like that was promising, because now when you give a guy like that time to really get in a groove and not the running back by committee thing, then you start seeing a different runner, because now he knows how to pace himself. And then now he knows how to run against a defense that's now, oh my God, I don't want to deal with this guy in the third quarter. That's the mindset. That's business decisions start happening dealing with a guy his size.
So that's actually a really good question. So I pulled these stats up. I think you'll find these interesting. So we've been inconsistent in the run game as far as we talked about it, efficiency, especially last game. It was super inefficient, right? You take away a couple of the big runs, we're not playing very well at all. However, we talk about it all year. Are we underutilizing our running backs? Check these stats out, okay? So the Green Bay Packers for the season as a team have 335 rushes for 1,630 yards, averaging 4.9 yards a carry. It's a very, very good average. Most teams would be thrilled with that. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles have 400, and remember their quarterback runs, have 402 rushes for 1,855 yards, 4.6 yards a carry. Not as good a yard per carry, but they basically ran the ball for 3 extra games more than we have. And the Cleveland Browns, who have a good offensive line and have Nick Chubb, 388 rushes, 1,872 yards, 4.8 yards a carry. So a very efficient team. 4.8, 4.9, you're splitting hairs. But again, 335 versus 388, that is 53 more rushes. That's 2 games worth of rushes.
Yes.
These other teams have literally ran the ball for 2 or 3 games more than we have. And it's not like this is what has been frustrating. And this is where you start going, is it a coaching thing? Is it a personnel thing? Is it a scheme thing? Is it a decision making? It's not like we're getting blown out every week.
No.
Right?
No, that's true.
I know we're not in the same situation as the Eagles, but they should not have 3 games more rushes than we do. Worth of rushes, right? If you run the ball 25 times a game, you can't be up on us by 3 freaking games, dude. And that, to me, is a huge issue with what's gone on this season. And then you start talking about, AJ just hit his stride. It's like, well, shoot, that's great, but Aaron got 9 carries, and we thought Aaron was hitting his stride. What happened to Aaron?
Right.
What do you do,
man? And
they're not clear cut.
Yeah, that's why I like the 1-horse protocol. You got one guy that runs the rock. He gets the lion's share of the carries. The only time that any other guy gets the ball to run it is because that number 1 guy is taking a rest. We're setting them out of series. That was the protocol when I was in there, and that is a protocol some teams still run. Derrick Henry down in Tennessee of Vrabel, that's what they run. He's never comes out until he needs a little break or he had a good drive the previous.
But this is like Cleveland, right? Where like
or like Cleveland,
good,
right?
But no, I don't see. Okay, so you know better than I do. I look at Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb's 1, but I don't think Kareem Hunt's 2. I think he's like maybe 1B.
He's 1. Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. Those are 2. Oh, I 100% agree with you. That's 1A, 1B. Like I'm like, oh my
that's
god,
what the Packers are like, right? So it's kind of
yes.
But the thing about Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, I think they're different, but they're more similar than Aaron and AJ. And so it's almost like it's like you're playing the U.S. national team in soccer, right? They don't have a 9, like they don't have a guy who can just go score goals,
right?
And so they try to fit like, okay, we have 11 good players, but we got to put somebody at this position they're out of position, and that's kind of what I feel like when AJ's doing good. It's like, oh shoot, we still have Aaron. What do we do? Oh, let's line him up over here. Let's put him in the green.
Let's put him in the slot.
Let's put him in the slot. It's like, well, he can do that, but you're kind of taking away from what he does do. Like he was on the upper echelon of running back in the first half of the season as far as what his production was.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's kind of fallen back to, he's still really good, but he's just, whether it's opportunities, whether it's blocking, it's just not the same. And a lot of that is because AJ's running behind his pads again. It was like last year, he kind of starts slow, but he's running behind his pads now. It's like, well, let him eat, man. He's eating.
He's running like the running back I saw on the Boston College film. When he's comfortable, he's running up and down the field, running comfortable, and that's what a lot of when I coach, I let players know. I say, hey, if you were comfortable running the ball a certain way, that's what I want. Don't overthink it. It's football. You've been doing this since you were 7, 8, 9 years old. Do that, and that's where AJ's at right now.
Yeah. Offensively, right. I would love to see, obviously, the continuation. I just love. I'm just spitballing here. I'd love to see the continuation of Christian Watson and that relationship. You'd love to just, I guess, if I was going in and I was Matt LaFleur and offensively we got to score more points, like everybody knows that, but here's how we're going to do it.
Yeah,
I would say I would just tell them, like, look, we are going to go what we've been talking about all year. We are a running football team. We are going to use the run to create the pass because there's too many times where we get in 3 and 4 wide receiver sets that guys are not open. And now it's like you cannot turn Christian Watson into Devontae Adams all of a sudden and be like, oh, we're just going to throw it to him every time.
No,
you have to create the opportunities for him to shine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they have to figure out, one, how to get Robert Tonyan into the passing game more, or find somebody who can at the tight end position.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can. I think he's doing well enough now where you can put him in 12 personnel. You can be him hipped off the ball, off Mercedes or off the tackle, put him across the ball, do all those things. I think he can do that. He's willing in it. He's much more willing than he used to be. But you got to create that linebacker funnel around the tight end to open up some other people. Otherwise, you got that middle of the field open. And then, but you have to center everything around, like, dude, we got to run this football. And offensive line, we're going to win or lose the game on how you play. Just so you know.
Yep.
But let's not paint any other picture. If you play well, we'll win. If you don't play well, we're going to lose. Unless somebody bails out. Can you handle it? Because, like, that's what your offensive line needs to be. If you got there's 5 of them. Like, that's what you have to be. If you don't play well, don't expect us to win the game. Go out and play well. We'll put you in you have enough smart people there. We'll put you in situations where you have an advantageous opportunity to win. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not going to try to get you to do something you're not capable of doing, which a lot of teams do.
Yes.
We're not going to do that to you. We're going to be honest. It's going to be run first, scheme the game so that the offensive line is going to win their matchups, and then say, hey, man, everything's on you because our quarterback can adjust. Nobody else can adjust on this team
right now,
except for Aaron Rodgers, right? Yeah. He's the one person that no matter what you call, he can make it work if you put everybody else in an advantageous position.
Exactly. And then putting that on the lineman like that's easy. I'm like, that should be less pressure. Then you're not out there thinking too much. Okay, what play is this? Okay, I got to set to get out on the screen and do this and that. No, we're running the ball. Oh, it's just downhill. Okay, it's double team up to the linebacker. That's cake. So then that's, like you said, easy scenario for the lineman. And if you think that over the next 4 games, it's like, oh, okay, we're gonna make this happen.
How old is Aaron Jones?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I would say
he's like year 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so they both got some years. Let me ask you this question: gun to your head, pen in your hand. You gotta write a check to one of them. The other one's got to go. What do you do?
Man, that is a tough question.
Because if you keep one, you literally don't have the other.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, well, just no, you don't have the other one.
That's a tough question. I say the answer to that question is,
I think we lost you for a minute, bud. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Hello.
Well, until he gets back.
Oh, I'm here.
I'm just telling you, that is gosh. I think I like Aaron. The way Aaron Jones runs is super, super violent. Hey, AJ, there you are, AJ. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay. No, I'm with you. It's really a tough question, and a tough thing that potentially, to put it out there like that. So great question by bringing the heat there. I would have to say, team-wise, what probably would go over is the guy who's been here longer, team-wise. Because
he's got a sombrero.
He got between the locker room and then obviously the fan base. And then AJ can be a starter somewhere else 100%. I believe that. He's the type of running back that if the right coach, like say for example, not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just throwing it out there. Kyle Shanahan gets him. He's going to be a problem. Mike Vrabel gets him, which he probably won't because he got Derrick Henry. You got a coach like that that's run-minded and know how to run and plan and scheme a running back and offensive line behind each other together, pair them together in the backfield, fullback or not. He's going to be a problem for a lot of defenses. And any other team, he'll be a starter, 100%.
I'm just trying. I agree with you. I agree that I'd keep Aaron Jones, and it would be a hard decision, but I'd keep him
because
hard. I just think he's more dynamic.
Yeah, that's part of the reason.
Screen game and all that kind of stuff. It's just that's important to me as well. But I'm just trying to think, like in my mind, I guess the most obvious place for me is you trade AJ to Baltimore.
Oh my God,
he would
feast.
Yeah, he would just kill it behind that 300-pound fullback taking handoffs from Lamar.
Picard, my God, he would feast. He would love it in Baltimore the way. Harbaugh does his football.
Let's hope that doesn't happen, but it is interesting. It is an interesting question. Good comment by bringing the heat. So let's talk about the defense, man. And I don't even know where you want to start. If you're on now, Goody or LaFleur walks in to the defensive meeting room and says, "Guys, listen, we got to do like you've already said it. We got to tackle better." But if you start pointing, I don't know if you're pointing at guys, you're pointing at positions, but for me, it's like. You have to communicate better on the back end.
Yep.
And you have to generate something that resembles a pass rush against the Chicago Bears. Are you kidding me? We did not generate a pass rush for Chicago. And their offensive line is terrible at pass blocking. Yeah. So the next couple games, the Rams are awful at pass blocking. 100%. If they drop back, they get beat, period. The Dolphins are not good at pass blocking. They get drop back, they get beat. The other two teams, pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? The Lions, really, really good.
Yeah.
Vikings are well coached now, right? They got
you just said guys,
it. Yeah, they're well coached. So those two teams, we have to generate a pass rush, and it can't be just like when we send Quay to run these stunts or we send Devondre. We have to generate a pass rush.
Yes.
Raise your hand if you can pass rush on this team. You know what I mean? Are we doing one-on-ones anymore? I don't know what it takes. Someone's got to generate a pass rush.
Yeah, and that's coaching. Excuse me, that's coaching. And then AJ is actually 28. He just turned 28 back on December 2nd.
AJ's 28?
Yep. Aaron Jones. Or Aaron Jones, excuse me. Aaron Jones. Okay. I said AJ because it's the same initial. So Aaron Jones is 28. He just turned it on the 2nd.
That is a young 28.
Yeah. So exactly, to your point with the D-line, it is just that. It's a gut check. It's saying, look, we're going to do basic football. If you know how to get in like you said, you know how to get in the backfield, we're going to let you loose. And that's what we need, period. We got to create pressure because we know pressure for quarterbacks, and you got a backup in there for this Rams game coming up that you put pressure on him in any sort of fashion, then it's going to be a problem for him. And that's what you want. So my mindset as a player, and I say coaching, it would be LaFleur talking to the coaches first, to the D-line coaches, defensive coaches, say, hey, this is what we have to get. This is the recipe for the week against this Rams team without a Matt Stafford in the backfield. We got to create pressure because we know what it does to people that are inexperienced with it, that doesn't have options, that don't know where his hot route is at, they don't know where the audible is coming from, what audible adjustment is. When players don't know that because they only have so many times on the football field, then you create problems, and let's do that. And so that's the talk that he has to have. So LaFleur is talking to defensive coaches first, and then defensive coaches relaying that message to the players, and then drills in practice, doing the same stuff in practice. Then it carries over.
This is a painfully obvious statement, but obviously our defensive box plays better when we reset the line of scrimmage, but we don't necessarily excel at. Kenny Clark has shown, of course, during the flashes during his career, but also this season has shown flashes of being able to reset the line of scrimmage when attacking somebody 1v1. I wonder, you go back to the Jets game and how much trouble the Jets defensive line gave. It's because they reset the line of scrimmage, they penetrate, right? They're penetrating. It's a different mindset on offense. Some people two gap and read, some people play first step, and some people penetrate. They penetrate. I wonder going into next year if they look at this and go, we really need to, if we want to utilize a guy like Kenny Clark, if we want to utilize a guy we need to, or if we want to get the most out of the athletes that we have, we need to stop kind of playing this kind of first step read game and really just, hey, we want to reset the line of scrimmage on every single snap, and then just see how, we'll take the quick traps and we'll teach our linebacker. We need to be able to reset the line of scrimmage on every single snap. I think that is something that's severely lacking. And obviously communication on the back end of the secondary. Question that I've heard multiple times from multiple people today is, why isn't Wyatt the first round pick playing more? And I think he's shown some progress over the last week, but let's just nip this one in the bud. He doesn't play because he plays too high out of his stance. He gets blown off the line of scrimmage. That's why. You're right. We saw it early in preseason. He's good. He's a guy that we talked about earlier. If you put him against, we talked about putting against the first round, the rookie in the first week of the season versus Minnesota. Line him up there, rookie on rookie, and pass rush situations. Let him do damage because he's quick as hell. He can pass rush, but he doesn't do a good job in the run game because he plays too high out of his stance. It's something he needs to work on. I think he's probably improved on it, but we just don't see him right now.
Right, and that'll be something for the offseason for coaches to develop him with those techniques, keeping his pass low and still penetrating and using his hands as well. So, great question.
I think, for me, those are the two things, man. Communication, reset the line of scrimmage on the line on defense, and the stuff we talked about on offense, man. But let's just end this with a very unfair and difficult question that I love posing to you, and it's not about Russell Wilson. But do you think the Packers have a culture problem, or is this a blip on the radar?
Great question, because it's only this season. Now, if this was next year, and it's the same problem, then I could answer this easier. But with it being only 1 year of evidence, of testing ground and evidence, it's hard to say. But I would say there could be a culture problem because of communication, lack thereof. Because you see the stuff that we've been seeing, like you brought it up since last season, from tackling and special teams problems, the other little things that has been brought up all year long for the last couple of years, because they were skating by because they had an offense. They had Devontae, they had Aaron, they were the Pepto-Bismol to all the other little problems that were popping up. So with that, I think it's because that's communication, and that's holding players accountable. And coaches accountable too, because the coaches got to step up and coach the players to say, hey, this is how you read a mesh play. If you got crossing routes coming and we're in zone, you yell at each other, hey, I'm taking, or he's coming your way. That's coaching. The players are talented. Some they have a high IQ. Some are very few at different positions. But overall, as a coach, you got to be like, oh man, my player don't know that. Okay, I see why you got to be, come here. Come here. I got to show you. Okay, this is how you bounce that call. Going from, if we're in a cover 2 or cover 3, I'm either left side corner to the right side, right linebacker, or left side linebacker. This is the communication you got to have, and so on and so forth. So I say it's potentially a culture thing.
Did you listen to any of Deion Sanders' press conferences or anything he's talked about?
Yes,
This guy,
I did.
I mean, you want to talk about a dude who just gets it?
Yes.
Like, is not, and just unbelievably because he's Deion Sanders, right?
He's Deion.
So he can see whatever the hell he wants.
Right. And so what I'm sorry. So what I've been saying, like his talk, his first meeting with players that came to the meeting, which is some players that didn't, which is still amazing. Okay. That just shows you the generation, what they're doing now. And you had parents in there. I told people this, look, for everybody that sent me a message, either social media wise or cell phone about, oh my God, Deion's there. I don't like him. I said, look, everybody don't like Deion, and he knows that, but he's going to be Deion. The one thing he is doing, like any player of his caliber that played football at the highest level at his caliber, we all speak the same language. We're just doing it in our way. So he is doing it in his way. His accountability, his telling the players up front, hey man, it's about to be some real stuff going on.
Make you quit.
If you're not ready for this life, get in the transfer portal. Get out of here. We don't want you. Conversations like that puts fear in people because they're not used to hearing that, because everybody needs to get a participation trophy. This ain't that, bro. This is D1 college football. This is the NFL. When you got to show up, you better show up or you're going to bust ticket at an apple. You're going to be out of here. And so that's reality setting in on college players with Deion coming to Colorado or wherever he would have been. That was the same thing he did at Jackson State. That was the same thing he did as a player. Because he wanted to win Super Bowls. What did he start doing? Oh, I'm going to go to 49ers. I want to go because I want to go to teams and be around people that are same-minded as me. I was with the Falcons. I did my thing, but I want to win a championship now. I remember him saying that years ago before he became a 49er, and then he became a Bronco or a Cowboy. I was in college. I was in high school watching this, and people were like, oh, man, he just want to go in again and win situation. I said, look, winning.
You're damn right he does. That's exactly what he wants to do.
Exactly. Yeah. You're damn right. Winning is the thing that you don't do it by yourself, for one. And you got to be around players and coaches that are on the same level mentally as you. That means you're going to do everything as possible, from physicality to watching film to showing up in the weight room to eating right, getting to sleep, whatever it is to take to be the best. I'm going to do it. He did it, and that's why he's doing what he's doing. And so for any of those players that didn't show up, continue. Don't walk in the building.
They said something. He said a lot over the week, and he's honestly the only way I can really describe him is, for me, as a 45-year-old ex-player and likes to do all this. Like he is an inspirational dude, man. Like I don't know how else to say. He's just an inspirational dude. Just even to my old ass, he's an inspirational dude. One thing he said that he called his defense coordinator back. He goes, "Hey, what do you give me every week?" And he's like, "Huddle times." Right? And everyone was kind of quiet. He's like, "Say it again." He's like, "Huddle times." He goes, this man breaks down. He uses his chart. How many hours are you on huddle? How often are you studying your playbook? That's all it was.
Right.
You can tell, right? You can follow this stuff. And the guys, and
Deion did it for my high school team. Yep, I know exactly what he's talking about.
It's not that everybody doesn't do it. It's just that when what you say and when you say matters, right? Like what you say and when you say it matters. And when we're talking about our team who has problems with communication, identifying things, et cetera, and you see this guy who's going from Jackson State to Colorado, and also, by the way, happens to be the greatest defensive back in the history of football.
Yep.
And one of the first things he brings up when he talks about accountability is, oh yeah, I'm going to check how much you're studying. Yeah. It's like, my mind immediately went like, oh, I wonder how many hours everybody else in the league is, because I know for a concrete fact there's teams that don't look at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's not like you maybe you feel like you shouldn't have to. That's fair enough. Right? That's fair. Yeah. But
you won't be in the job long. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, but at the same time, like Deion Sanders, like, hey man, like he's got all he didn't do it for the bag. He's trying to change people's lives, and you can't. And this is the hard part about coaching college versus pro and all this whole stuff. You got to understand, you can't change people's lives if you don't hold them accountable to anything. You just won't change their lives. You can't do it. Nope. And that's what to me is like. So that's why I love hearing that guy, because even though I'm old, and even though he's talking to college kids, you go, man, the accountability from the best in the world. Like, if you can't get with that, man, get off the bus, because you don't belong.
Get in the transfer portal. That's what you do.
Let's leave it with that, AG, because we're not going to get better than Deion Sanders. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media, bud.
No, find me on Twitter and Instagram, Ahman Green 30, all one word, and then on YouTube, Ahman Green's Gamers Lounge as well, and also TikTok. I'm on there dropping stuff as well. So, Mike, where they can find you at?
Yep, Mike168 Twitter and TikTok, Process to Perform on Instagram. Check this channel out, youtube.com/Process to Perform. Putting up stuff every week. We'll put up little clips as the week folds out too. AG will be back to preview the LA Rams, the Baker Mayfield LA Rams next week.
Yep.
Until then, brother, have a good weekend. And
you too.
As always, enjoying the conversation.
For sure. Peace.